I'm Stephen Foskett here at Storage Developer Conference 2012 in Santa Clara, and I rounded up these two guys from the Samba team to talk about BranchCache because it was one of those topics that came up today in our roundtable discussion, and I just wanted to hear a little bit more about it. So you guys are implementing BranchCache, which is a Microsoft SMB Windows protocol in Samba.
We're implementing it for Samba.
Okay.
So just to introduce,
Yep.
okay, so this is Jose Rivera. He's a senior software engineer at Red Hat, and we're both work at Red Hat, but we're talking for Samba now.
Okay.
And that's Christopher Hertel. He is too many words before software engineer guy.
Yeah. So BranchCache is a separate protocol, and it can be tied into HTTP, it can be tied into SMB, it can be tied into other things as well. Microsoft uses it as part of their transfer software that they use for updates, for example. But it's a distributed cache, which means the first time you download a file, you keep that file on your machine or on another machine, and then the next time somebody goes to download that file, instead of getting it from the remote server, they can get it locally. They can get it from the first copy that was downloaded. And the only way to make that work properly is that you have to have these what are called fingerprints to mark the blocks so that you know which parts of the file you have locally and which are still on the server that you have to get again.
And that's integrated in with SMB3,
right?
As part of
2.1 and
2012 and Windows 8 kind of stuff. It's in 2.1 as well.
Yep.
But they've enhanced it some as well, right?
There are two versions. Windows 7 introduced version 1 of what the underlying protocol is called PeerDist. And so it's PeerDist version 1. And it's a very simple hashing system. What PeerDist version 2 does is it doesn't specify what algorithm, what math you use to fingerprint the blocks. That means that you can now integrate it with pre-existing software like deduplication software, WAN acceleration software, anything that tags pieces of information with simpler pieces of information you can use within this. So
if you're Microsoft, you're using the deduplication,
right? And if you're Riverbed, you're using your WAN acceleration. If you're somebody doing those are basically the two technologies: WAN acceleration and dedupe. That kind of thing you can use in this.
Excellent.
And this has good security consequences in that now the protocol has to take less steps to make sure that the data is secure because they took all the data encryption and moved it to a different layer. So now the protocol does not care how you encrypt your data, it just knows that it's encrypted data, and it can just send it wherever it needs to go.
Yeah, that was one of the things that came up in our roundtable discussion about BranchCache was a question about encryption or security in terms of some bad actor injecting the wrong data in. Is that possible?
It's possible, but it's mitigated. I mean, like most things in computing, you can do whatever you want, but there's usually a way to make it hard. And so in BranchCache version 1, the fingerprints are signed. So there's actually a signature that comes from the server, and that's how you know that you got the right information. You get the signature and the fingerprints from the server, you ask for a copy locally, you know that the signature is still good because it still matches. With version 2, we're still looking into how version 2 does all this, but it's using an encrypted connection to transfer data from place to place.
So they thought of that?
They thought of that.
Oh, yes,
okay.
yes.
Now, we have to go through and figure out where the holes are. I mean, that's what the industry does. We figure out what the holes are, and then we figure out how to fix them.
As far as they know, they've taken good steps to ensure security of data, so that if you sniff the wire, for V2 at least, all you see is encrypted data. You can't do anything with it without the decryption. And even in V1, you can get the raw data. You can get the raw data blocks that are being transferred, but without the hashing information that tells you how to put them back together, it's just junk.
Yeah, and also there's the idea that this is not something that happens over the internet. This is a LAN protocol. It's going to be, theoretically there's the internet involved, but it's not like anybody could snoop this, really.
Well, if you can snoop the original connection, if you're using HTTP or unencrypted SMB, then yes, you'll see that. You would see that anyway.
Yeah.
You'd see the original content anyway.
Yeah.
So there's no loss of security there.
Yeah.
It's just that you want to make sure that the data that you retrieve is the correct data. That's the most important part.
in one of the modes of deployment, for instance, the thing that makes the LAN protocol, there's a mode where all your peers can be caches for content, and that uses a LAN broadcast to find other peers. That's what limits that mode to a LAN.
Yeah, and everybody loves broadcasts.
It reminds us a lot of the old browser protocol.
I was actually thinking of that. Yeah, there you go.
It looks like that.
Didn't you get rid of that?
It's still there. It's still there.
Still supported.
As a matter of fact, somebody asked me to re-implement it for Samba. We want a new implementation for Samba 4. Not too long ago.
What did you tell them?
I said, it's a piece of cake. It's very easy to do, so yes, you can do it.
Okay. All right, well, thanks for explaining a little bit about BranchCache, and I'm glad to have met you here at SDC.
Thank you for having us.
Nice to meet you, too.